Good morning and welcome to the Star Podcast at AAERT in St. Louis. I am Deanna Oakes and I'm here with Val Weber. Good morning, how are you?
Good morning, I'm great, thanks.
Thanks for coming on and doing with us,
Sure.
Val. I really appreciate it. Why don't you tell me and our audience a little bit about yourself, how you're involved in the court reporting industry and where you started and all that.
Long story short, back in the 70s when I was in high school, I was producing transcripts for digital or steno reporters in Greeley, Colorado. So I got the court reporting bug way back then. And I was going to go to court reporting school in Denver, and then I got married instead, so that kind of took a back burner, but I was transcribing through all those years.
Okay.
And then in 2001, I decided to go to court reporting school at Bryan College Court Reporting in Los Angeles.
Oh my gosh, that's where I went!
Oh, there you
but
go.
it was Bryan University when I went.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
Bryan College. Well, you're younger than me, so that must have been a few years later. But I went there, but then I discovered digital reporting. And so I decided to transition into that. And so I got to 140 words a minute, but then I went to digital. So I understand both sides of the spectrum here,
Yeah.
and I appreciate what steno reporters have to go through to become certified. So,
Yeah, it's a challenge. It definitely is hard. But, that's kind of what I think is one of the best, I don't know if innovation is the right word, but one of the best options is if you do try the machine and you think it's something that you want to potentially pursue, and that doesn't work out, you still have other ways that you can be the guardian of the record.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well said.
And so what's your experience as a digital reporter? Are you working in Colorado now, or?
No, I actually live in Wisconsin now. I came down here from Milwaukee, and I am in the courtroom now, which is very fun for me because I hadn't done that before. But I've also had a transcription and reporting company in Colorado, so my transcription business has always been there, typing transcripts for jurisdictions who record the record with the same software we use in the courtroom, but didn't have anybody to transcribe it. So I've always been doing the transcription, and I was doing some freelance reporting. But when COVID hit, my freelance business just came to a complete standstill, and I went to LinkedIn and I put in digital court reporting, and Wisconsin was hiring. They hired me, and I moved out here during COVID in July of 2020, and I've been very thankful. So I'm in a courtroom setting now, which I'd never been before, but I really, really enjoy it.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think what's cool about the courthouse, because I am a freelance reporter, but I've done some per diem work. Mm-hmm. My favorite part is just like that it feels like kind of an exclusive club when you're back there in chambers. It's almost like a VIP kind of a thing.
It's true.
Yeah, it
It's
really
true.
is. I love that part.
Yes.
You just feel so, there's such a regalness, I feel like, to being on the bench and just kind of like, involved in the process.
And oftentimes courthouses are so beautiful. Like the Milwaukee County Courthouse is old and the woodwork is beautiful. The courtrooms are majestic, as you say. And it does, when you walk in, it really gives you a feeling of, wow, this is cool stuff.
Yeah.
This is cool stuff.
It makes you proud of the justice system, and
there you go.
Yeah, wanting to be
It
a part of this noble profession for sure.
It does.
Go ahead, you were going to say
Well,
something?
my office is right by the judge's chambers, and she leaves her door open between her office and me. And so sometimes I hear some of the conversations, if there's something really that she can't have me hear, she'll close the door. But it really is a very cool thing. And then we have 2 deputies in the courtroom because we do felony court, so you have to have 2 deputies and the clerk. So the 5 of us, we feel like a really, a team. And I feel people have asked me, my relatives and stuff, well, now that you're in a criminal court, all right, do you ever feel in danger? And
that's interesting.
Yeah, but I don't, because we have deputies there, and if we have a particular defendant who's a little more, could be more of a threat, they bring up additional deputies. So I feel well protected. They wouldn't let anything happen to us. But criminal court is a whole new beast than what I've ever done.
Yeah. So how do you find yourself being, because one of the things that reporters have to do is maintain a certain amount of composure. And how do you feel you're able to do that? Or are you? Have you slipped up at all? Have you?
No, I do pretty good. And I do some training with new electronic reporters that come into the system. And I tell them, I said, you have to keep a straight face, even though it's hard. Because the other day I was training somebody and she laughed at something, and at the break I said, we really can't do that.
Yeah.
You have to maintain. We are the fly on the wall.
Absolutely.
We are the fly on the wall, and we can't act like we are maybe for one side or the other, even though this defendant maybe has done really terrible things.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's hard to look at them because I'm in domestic violence court, but you can't react. It just, I'll react later.
Yeah. But I will say that I think it's almost more hard not to laugh than not to cry, because some things happen that are just so silly,
Yeah.
you know, and especially when everyone else is laughing
Right.
because it's contagious.
Right.
So that is kind of a challenge.
It is kind of a challenge. I mean, I'll smile when somebody makes a joke and it's like everybody laughs. I'll smile, but I
Right.
don't ever
Vocal. Yeah,
vocal.
yeah, exactly.
But if I'm having trouble not reacting, I stop looking at the people and just go, just look at my computer as opposed to eyeing the crowd, because
it definitely takes a bit of that. And it's interesting that you say that, because I think of it as like a blind effect. I generally cannot look at the people because, for one, I need to be intently so focused on my listening.
Right.
And if I do look at them, then it almost feels like I'm a part of the conversation. And so I was just speaking with Debbie before, and there feels like I have had this happen so many times where where you want to say something because it feels like you're a part, right? But obviously you can't. That would be just so grossly inappropriate. But it happens if I look at you. And so that's definitely something that I have had challenges with. And I think in the Zoom world too. So are you doing video conference hearings and whatnot, proceedings?
We are still, but not nearly as much when we were deep in COVID, when they weren't allowing anybody to come to the courthouse. I came in when that was happening.
Okay.
And then they started transitioning where they opened up maybe 2 courtrooms for jury trials, but they had plexiglass everywhere.
Yeah.
In between each juror, in between the defense attorney and the defendant. I mean, they had plexiglass everywhere.
Yeah.
But now most of that has been taken down. And they require most people to come in. I'd say 90% of all the proceedings are in person, but there are some people who still come in by Zoom. And oftentimes, maybe if it's a short hearing for someone who's in custody, it's easier to just take them to a booth in the jail and have them appear by Zoom than transport them.
Yeah.
But for the most part, they want people to come in person.
And I think that it's actually, I mean, I do depositions, so it's a little less formal, but I love having the option to do the video conference. But what I was seeing when I did do some per diem with the court, when it was, video conference, you would just get people, in their vehicles, and there was somebody in their bathrobe. I mean,
smoking, no shirt, in bed, lying in bed, and one of the funniest stories was one day when everybody was appearing by Zoom, and a younger gentleman had a hat on Zoom.
Yeah.
And the judge said, "Sir, you need to take your hat off. We're in court."
Yeah.
And he literally went, "No, we're not."
Oh my goodness.
And now that was really hard to not laugh.
Yeah.
But that people don't understand that even though it's by Zoom,
right,
you're still in court, and you shouldn't be laying on your bed with your shirt off, or smoking, or driving.
Yeah.
And so there has been a lot of that.
Which is why I think it is really important for those court proceedings to happen in person.
Because they wouldn't walk into a courtroom without a shirt on.
Absolutely not. They wouldn't be allowed.
Right.
Yeah, they're absolutely not allowed. So I did want to ask you, when the plexiglass was up, how did that affect the audio, or did it at all?
It affected it like when we're picking a jury, because that was hard because you can't have a microphone in front of every juror.
Oh, you didn't?
No,
that would make it very hard, I think.
So we would ask them to stand up and project their voices, and then I would have to say, "I didn't catch that." So there was maybe more of that at that time, just because it did affect it for jury trials. The other, even if there's plexiglass between the defense attorney and the defendant, they each had a microphone.
Right.
So but the jury trials can be a little bit challenging with plexiglass, but that's gone
now. Yeah.
That's
so
gone.
Luckily we made it through that hurdle, and here we are.
Thank God. Yes.
So overall, what would you say about your profession? I mean, do you love it? Would you recommend it to the young folks coming up? Do you feel good about the future? Tell me a little bit about how you're feeling.
I absolutely would recommend it. In fact, I I just recently got asked by a judge in Milwaukee to be her official judge, but 3 weeks ago I started. But prior to that, I rotated around in the courthouse. I was a floater because I was only working part-time, but now I'm back to full-time. But anyway, I shared an office with a young girl in her early 20s who was hired a year ago as a digital reporter. And she said, I wish someone had told me about this in high school. And that's a quote. She said, we don't know about this profession.
Yeah.
So I think we need to get out there into the high schools and tell people about this. I kind of think about Mike Rowe and how he's saying you don't have to necessarily go to college. You can learn a trade.
Yes.
I feel like this is a trade that people can learn, and they can be working quickly, as opposed to, I appreciate stenos, but it's a quicker into the
so
courtroom
much
and into
quicker.
the DEPA world, the freelance world.
Yeah.
And absolutely. And I think that then this young girl I'm talking about, she just loves the courtroom, because we both come back at lunch and talk about what happened in your court today, what happened in your court today.
Yeah.
So absolutely, I love my job. I mean, sure, there are some days where maybe there's a lot of downtime and maybe it's not as interesting of a case, but for the most part, I really do love to go to work, and I would highly recommend it. Most anybody can do it. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's something that is for all ages, all walks of life, right?
Bingo. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they are hiring people of all ages, but it is interesting to hear the young people say, I wish I'd have known about this earlier.
Yeah. Which is what we are trying to do, is we're trying to reach these people and let them know that this is a thriving industry, and we need you to come get some work. It's job security.
It is job security. In fact, a couple months back, we went to a high school in South Milwaukee to a job fair, and it was in their gymnasium, and there were probably hundreds. I think there were 100 booths of different businesses throughout Milwaukee that were there represented. But interestingly enough, a lot of the people who came to our booth and were interested were the parents.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
well,
amazing.
I kind of want to change careers. What's this all about?
Yeah.
And so there were a couple teachers that came over.
Wow.
Yeah. So we got the people that were interested were not necessarily the kids at that event, but yeah.
But yeah, I mean, as long as we get more people educated and more awareness, then it's going to trickle.
Because we had a steno there too, who had her machine set up, and she was showing everybody the real time.
Yeah.
So we were able to talk about being a steno and being a digital, and so it was very fascinating for them to watch her, because she was writing what we were saying, and they were seeing what we were saying come up on her screen. So it was pretty effective. Yeah.
That is so nice to hear too, that you were both collaborating at a job fair together, different methods. That just makes my heart so big, because we are stronger together.
We are. And in Milwaukee County, there's close to 50 reporters, because that's how many judges we have. And last I heard, which was very recently, it's about half and half, steno and digital.
Yeah? And do you feel like you guys have a pretty healthy relationship? I mean, how do you feel about that?
I think it's growing to get better. I think there was the digital in Wisconsin in general is fairly new.
Okay.
It had started just shortly before COVID, but then when COVID hit, it escalated it where they got, I think there's FTR in literally every courtroom in the state now. I don't know how many courtrooms that is, but it's a lot. So now we being digitals, if a steno's on vacation, we can go in their courtroom and cover for them. It doesn't necessarily have to be a steno.
Right.
Now, I think there's still some, maybe stenos who think we're taking their jobs and stuff, which we're not. No one's losing their job.
No,
and so, but I find that we are coming closer together, and understanding that we're all here for the same purpose. And,
exactly. Yeah, we're all on the same team.
We're all on the same team. Yeah.
That's such a great sentiment to have.
Yes.
And I'm so happy that you're able to share that your experience has been positive in that light.
Yeah.
And that's our role as leaders in the industry, to share positivity and encourage people to be a part of this. Do you have any, biggest accomplishments or anything that has really remarkably stood out for you in your career, something that you're the most proud of?
Well, yeah. When I decided to go to become a digital reporter rather than finish steno school in California, I moved back to Colorado, which is where I was from, and that's when the transcription business just kind of started going crazy, which I didn't plan on, and so I I just wanted to be a court reporter, but for whatever reason, I kept getting, like, Denver District Court and different other jurisdictions in Colorado kept asking, can you do the transcription for us? So I had to start asking other people to help me, other transcribers, and pretty soon I had a business, and then a friend of mine, Roger Myers, he came on board as another digital reporter, and through all of that, then we started from the digital reporting side, subcontracting with some of the larger national firms who would hire us to do National Labor Relations Board hearings, Federal Tax Court, Merit System Protection Board hearings. So Roger and I started traveling around the country, and I never in my wildest dreams would have thought anything like that would happen. So I'm, running this transcription side. I hired somebody to administrate that, and then Roger and I are doing reporting, and it just all, it just all kind of kept happening. Not that I planned it or anything, but it was really a wonderful time. And then I ended up moving to Oregon to be by my daughter and their children, and so I sold my business to another firm in Denver. But it was really, that I think was my biggest accomplishment. It sometimes you don't plan stuff, and it just things fall into place. Things fell into place.
A great accomplishment. And what a lovely story that you just were so busy and so, successful that all of a sudden this just
I need more people.
That's fabulous.
Yeah.
What a great experience.
Yeah.
Well, it's been such a lovely time talking with you, Val. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to talk to us and tell us a little bit about this amazing career.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Of course. And with that, we will sign off and we will see you next time. Thanks so much, everybody.